When Deathworlders saved the galaxy, aliens stood in shock. Some were known for their intelligence, others for their speed, and some for their sheer physical strength. But there was one species that every intelligent race spoke of in hushed tones: humans from Zorinth 9. Zorinth 9 was no ordinary planet. It was a death world. Its surface boiled with storms that could tear apart even the sturdiest of buildings. Its forests were filled with predators that could hunt in packs, climb sheer cliffs, or fly through storms with deadly precision. Rivers flowed with venomous chemicals that could dissolve most metals. Yet in this world of chaos, humans thrived. They built homes, grew food, and adapted to every danger that came their way. To the rest of the galaxy, humans were almost mythical. They survived what others could not, and they fought when others would flee. And now, a fleet of these humans had arrived at Zythurian, the capital world of the Interstellar Council. Zythurian's cities sparkled like jewels, floating above a calm ocean of blue gas. The council was made up of representatives from every known star system. Each species had a voice, and each voice carried weight. The humans had never asked for a seat at the council before. No one knew why they had come now. The first sign of their arrival was the quiet hum of engines. Ships appeared on the edge of Zythurian's atmosphere. Unlike the massive warships of other fleets, the human vessels were small and rugged. Their design was simple, but it carried an aura of confidence. The council chambers fell silent. The diplomats whispered among themselves. "What are they doing here?" a Valkyrian ambassador asked. Valkyrians were known for their pride and control over their massive war fleets. "They have no business with the council." "They are Deathworlders," said an old historian from the planet Chiron. "They come from a place where only the strongest survive. They have faced storms that can swallow mountains, predators that could hunt fleets, and yet they endure. You do not invite them lightly." Meanwhile, inside the largest human ship, the crew prepared for docking. Captain Myra Darnell stood on the bridge, looking out at the shimmering planet below. She was a human, like all of her crew, but she had spent years surviving on the harsh terrains of Zorinth 9. Every scar on her body told a story of battles won and dangers survived. "Report," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Atmosphere stable for landing," her first officer replied. "Council representatives are observing, but there is no immediate hostility." Myra nodded. "Good. Let's make sure they remember us." The humans had no intention of asking for permission. Their mission was simple: to warn the galaxy about a new threat, one that could destroy systems faster than anyone could imagine. The marauding Vrax Empire had grown bold, attacking unprotected planets, enslaving populations, and leaving devastation in its path. The council needed to understand the urgency, but humans knew that words alone would not convince most species. They had to show strength, and strength was something humans had in ways that others could not understand. As the ships entered Zythurian's docking fields, the council chambers filled with delegates. They watched as humans moved with precision, unloading supplies and deploying scouts. The humans wore light armor, adapted to survive even the deadliest environments. Each human carried simple weapons, but the council could sense an underlying power, a confidence born from surviving impossible odds. Ambassadors whispered again. "They look ordinary," one said, "but the stories say they are unstoppable." Just then, a holographic transmission from the human fleet played in the chamber. Captain Myra's image appeared, standing tall and unwavering. "Representatives of the Interstellar Council," she began, her voice carrying the weight of someone who had faced death countless times. "We come from Zorinth 9, a world you have all heard of. We have faced storms, predators, and environments that would destroy your fleets. We have survived. And now, we warn you, the Vrax Empire is coming. If we do not act together, countless systems will fall and civilizations will be lost." There was a moment of stunned silence. No one interrupted. Humans were known for their directness, but the way Myra spoke left no room for doubt. She did not plead or demand. She stated facts that could not be ignored. The council's leader, an enormous creature named Thrin of the species Orvax, stepped forward. His voice was deep and resonant. "Captain Myra, you speak of a threat we have long feared, but why should we trust humans? You arrive uninvited. You have no seat here. You are strangers in our midst." Myra's gaze did not falter. "We are strangers, yes, but we are survivors. If we fail to act now, your fleets, your cities, your people will face the same dangers we have seen on Zorinth 9. I do not ask for trust, I ask for action. A murmur ran through the council chambers. Some species began to exchange worried glances. The humans' reputation had preceded them, but no one had truly believed the stories, until now. Outside, the Vrax scouts had detected the unusual fleet. On board their ships, they laughed. Humans, those fragile creatures, this will be easy. They had never faced humans before, and they assumed the tales were exaggeration. But even as they prepared to engage, subtle anomalies began to show. Human ships moved with unexpected speed. Human weapons adapted to environmental hazards. Human tactics were unpredictable. Back in the council chambers, Myra concluded her address. We are here to help, but we will not wait for permission if action is needed. The galaxy does not have time for hesitation. Will you stand with us, or will you watch as the Vrax destroy everything you have built? Silence followed. Then, slowly, representatives began to nod. Some species, proud and cautious, still hesitated. But others, faced with the undeniable truth in Myra's words, understood that humans were not to be underestimated. They were more than warriors. They were a force forged by survival itself. As the humans settled on Zythurian, they did not seek comfort. They prepared. Scouts were sent to gather information on nearby star systems. Engineers adapted local technology to human needs. Soldiers trained, not because they were unprepared, but because they never assumed anything. Every human instinct was honed for survival, and now, for the first time, those instincts would be tested not just on Zorinth 9, but across the galaxy. In the skies above, Vrax scouts continued to observe, unaware that they were about to meet a species unlike any they had ever encountered. The galaxy had stories of great empires and terrible wars, but nothing had prepared it for humans from Zorinth 9. And so, the stage was set. The Deathworlders had arrived. They were not here to negotiate, not here to bow, and certainly not here to be underestimated. The galaxy would soon learn that survival on a Deathworld was not merely a skill, it was a power that could reshape the fate of millions. Captain Myra looked out at the horizon where Zythurian's twin suns gleamed against the void. "Let them come," she said softly. "We are ready." And in that moment across countless worlds, whispers spread. Humans had arrived. The Deathworlders of Zorinth 9 were here. And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, began to feel the stirrings of both hope and fear. The calm of Zythurian's orbit was deceptive. Beneath the serene skies, the galaxy was shifting like a storm waiting to break. The Vrax Empire had already been making its presence known in nearby systems. Their fleets were massive, built to crush planets and enslave populations. To any other species, the Vrax would have seemed unbeatable, but humans were not like any other species. Captain Myra Darnell stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Resolute. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, checking sensors, scanning communications, and analyzing the outer systems. Despite the apparent peace, Myra's instincts screamed that trouble was near. "We have multiple Vrax signals," reported Lieutenant Kale, her communications officer. "They are moving toward the systems near the Korath Belt, likely scouting." "Scouting or testing us," Myra said, her eyes narrowed. "Prepare the fleet. I want everyone ready for anything." Remember, they may underestimate us, but we do not underestimate them. The humans' ships were smaller than the Vrax vessels, but they were fast and adaptable. Each vessel was equipped with modular systems that could handle any environment, from asteroid fields to ion storms. Human engineers had spent weeks preparing, converting the ships to handle situations that no alien fleet had ever anticipated. "Captain, we are approaching the Korath Belt," Kale said. "Sensors show asteroids, magnetic anomalies, and intense radiation pockets." "Good," Myra replied with a faint smile. "That is our advantage. The Korath Belt is perfect. The Vrax will assume it's a natural obstacle. They don't know it will be our battlefield." Across the void, the Vrax scouts were laughing, confident in their size and numbers. They had heard of humans before, but they dismissed the warnings as exaggeration. Their warships were massive, armed with plasma cannons and missile arrays capable of destroying entire cities. To them, the human fleet was nothing more than a minor annoyance. But the humans had something the Vrax did not: ingenuity born from survival on a planet where death was constant. As the first skirmish began, the Vrax attempted a standard approach. Their lead ship fired a volley of plasma rounds toward the human fleet. But the humans had anticipated this. Using the dense asteroid field, they maneuvered through tight spaces, dodging attacks that would have obliterated larger ships. Lieutenant Jara, piloting the scout frigate Swift Talon, shouted over the comms, "Captain." "They're adjusting their attack formation," Myra nodded. "Then we adjust faster." She tapped commands into the bridge console. On her orders, the human fleet split into smaller units, each using the asteroid field for cover. Missiles were launched from hidden positions, striking the Vrax ships at unexpected angles. For the first time, the Vrax realized that humans fought differently. They didn't rely on overwhelming size or firepower. They relied on strategy, speed, and adaptability. The Vrax flagship, a massive dreadnought named Kragnar's Wrath, roared with fury. Its captain, a towering creature named Vraxen, barked orders. "Destroy them. They are small. They cannot survive our weapons." But even as the Vrax unleashed their firepower, human tactics were unpredictable. Ships would appear where no one expected, using the belt's magnetic anomalies to bend their energy shields and confuse sensors. Torpedoes would strike from hidden angles, while human fighters swooped in with rapid precision. Every move was calculated yet instinctive, honed by generations who had survived the deadliest planet in the galaxy. On board the Resolute, Myra's eyes scanned the battlefield. "All units focus on the lead ship. We cannot allow them to regroup. Use every advantage the environment offers. Remember, the Vrax are strong, but we are faster, smarter, and we adapt." The humans' efforts began to pay off. One by one, smaller Vrax vessels were disabled or forced to retreat. Even the Vrax commanders began to realize that humans did not fight like any other species. They did not fear the impossible. They used every element of their environment as a weapon. Asteroids were launched into the path of Vrax cruisers. Electromagnetic anomalies scrambled their targeting systems, and human missiles designed to adjust mid-flight struck with lethal accuracy. In the midst of the chaos, Kale's voice sounded urgent. "Captain, the flagship is moving into a narrow canyon in the asteroid field. It's dangerous, but it could be our chance." Myra's eyes gleamed. "Exactly, that canyon is perfect for an ambush. Prepare the interceptor squads. We hit them from both sides. Timing is everything." Within minutes, human ships were in position. As the Vrax flagship entered the canyon, it became trapped. Asteroids on either side created natural choke points, and hidden human fighters attacked from above and below. Plasma cannons struck from unexpected angles, forcing the massive ship to maneuver desperately. Every movement it made played into the humans' plan. Vraxen roared in frustration. "How can this be? They are only humans. They should not survive in such numbers." "Because they are not ordinary," Jara replied over the comms to her fellow pilots. "They are Deathworlders." The term carried weight even among humans themselves. It referred to those born and trained on Zorinth 9, a planet that would have destroyed any ordinary species. Humans carried the strength of their world into space, turning death into a tool rather than a threat. As the flagship struggled, human engineers aboard smaller ships sent out energy pulses to interfere with its systems. Torpedoes struck the engines, disabling its mobility. Plasma shields faltered under attacks from angles no conventional fleet would attempt. Within hours, the massive vessel was rendered immobile, floating like a wounded beast in the canyon. The Vrax were stunned. No species had ever dared trap their flagship in such a way, much less disable it so quickly. Their morale faltered, and the humans pressed their advantage. Smaller Vrax ships began to retreat, and the battlefield slowly cleared of enemy forces. Captain Myra watched the aftermath silently. She did not celebrate. Humans did not fight for glory. They fought for survival and for the protection of others. Around her, crew members quietly repaired damage, checked systems, and ensured every soldier and pilot was accounted for. Lieutenant Kale broke the silence. "Captain, we did it. The Vrax have retreated." Myra nodded, her face calm but resolute. "This is only the beginning. They will return, but now the galaxy knows what humans can do. They will no longer underestimate us." Across the battlefield, alien observers recorded every move. Ambassadors from distant systems whispered in disbelief. "They are unstoppable," one said, "not because of their ships, but because of their minds and instincts." Even the Vrax, humiliated but alive, began to reconsider their assumptions. They had underestimated humans, and the cost had been high. Reports would be sent to their fleets across the galaxy. Humans were not ordinary. They were something else, something dangerous and relentless. Back on the Resolute, Myra gathered her officers. Today, we showed what humans can do when they work together and trust their instincts. Tomorrow, we prepare for the next encounter. The Vracs will come again, and when they do, we will be ready. Her officers nodded, understanding the weight of her words. They had survived impossible odds before, and they would do so again. Humans were not just warriors, they were survivors, planners, and adapters. Every challenge they faced only made them stronger. Outside the ship, the stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to the humans' victory. The Korath Belt, once a dangerous void, had become a proving ground for the Deathworlders. And somewhere in the distance, the first whispers of hope spread across the galaxy. If humans could survive this, perhaps there was a chance to stop the Vracs. Captain Myra looked at the stars, her mind already planning the next moves. "We fight not because we want war," she said softly, "but because we refuse to lose. We are humans, we survive, and nothing will change that." And in the quiet after the battle, the galaxy began to take note. The humans of Zorinth 9 had arrived not just to warn, but to fight. And any species that stood against them would soon learn why the stories of the Deathworlders were more than legends. They were reality. The galaxy had begun to whisper. Stories of humans from Zorinth 9 were spreading from one system to another. The tales were no longer about ordinary survival. They were about humans who turned deadly planets into training grounds, who faced predators that could tear a starship apart, and who somehow survived and thrived where others would perish. Captain Myra Darnell stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring at the holographic map of the nearby Korath systems. The Vracs Empire had retreated after their first encounter, but Myra knew better than to believe they were defeated. They were patient predators. They would return stronger and more prepared. Humans had to be ready, and this time they would not wait for a battle to come to them. They would shape the battlefield themselves. "Lieutenant Kale, report," Myra said, her voice calm but commanding. Kale tapped the controls and brought up sensor readings. "Scans show multiple Vracs fleets regrouping in adjacent sectors. Their numbers are increasing, Captain. They are preparing for retaliation." Myra nodded. "Good. Then we will give them a challenge they will never forget. Prepare the Deathworld teams. We move to Scifi." The planet Scifi was notorious in the galaxy. Its surface was a labyrinth of volcanic vents, acid lakes, and jagged mountain ranges. Few species had even attempted to land there, and none had survived long on the surface. For humans, it was a proving ground, a place where tactics honed on Zorinth 9 could be applied on a massive scale. Within hours, the human fleet entered orbit above Scifi. Scouts were sent to the surface, mapping terrain, detecting predators, and finding natural choke points. Human soldiers, trained for environments far more dangerous than this, prepared for deployment. They carried light armor, modular weapons, and devices designed to turn the environment into an ally. Lieutenant Jara, leading one of the ground teams, reported from a landing zone near a volcanic canyon. "Captain, the terrain is perfect. Acid pools can be redirected, lava flows can be guided, and the cliffs provide ideal ambush points. The Vracs will not expect this." Myra's face lit with a rare smile. "Exactly, Jara. Remember, they are strong, but they are not smart enough to adapt to a Deathworld. We make the rules here." Within hours, human units were spread across the canyon. Engineers used portable devices to manipulate the environment, creating traps and obstacles. Small drones released predators native to Scifi, creatures designed to hunt anything unfamiliar to the planet. Humans moved with silent precision, placing mines, energy disruptors, and automated turrets at strategic points. Every detail was calculated, every movement rehearsed. Then the first Vracs scouts arrived. They expected humans to fight like any other species, directly and predictably. Instead, they encountered the canyon alive with hidden threats. Lava flows shifted to block paths, acid vents erupted without warning, and predators descended from cliffs, forcing the Vracs into chaotic retreat. Missiles fired from human turrets struck from angles no Vracs pilot had ever considered. One Vracs captain screamed in frustration. "They are not attacking directly. How can this be?" "They adapt," another replied, eyes wide in disbelief. "They are like predators themselves." On the human side, Myra watched from her command module, issuing orders calmly. Kale flanked their left formation with the interceptors. Jara, guide the predators into the central canyon. Use the acid pools to force them into the traps. Timing is crucial. Do not allow them to regroup. The battle continued for hours. Human ingenuity turned every disadvantage into an advantage. Narrow passages became kill zones. Volcanic eruptions were timed to separate the enemy fleet. Even the Vrak's drones, designed to detect ambushes, fell into traps set with patience and precision. As the sun of Scifi set behind jagged mountains, the humans had achieved a stunning victory. The Vrak's forces that had survived were scattered, demoralized, and forced to retreat once more. Humans, by contrast, had sustained only minor losses, small scratches, minor equipment damage, and a few bruised egos. To the galaxy, it was almost unbelievable. A few dozen human ships and ground units had bested a massive Vrak's force on their terms. In the aftermath, Myra addressed her officers. "Today, we have done more than fight. We have shown that humans do not follow conventional rules. We use our environment, our instincts, and our will to survive. That is why we are different. That is why we cannot be defeated in the ways others expect." Kale, still scanning the battlefield, shook his head in wonder. "Captain, the Vrak's will not forget this. Their fleets will be on high alert for humans across the galaxy." Myra's expression was firm. "Let them be alert. That is exactly what we want. Every species should remember this. Humans are not to be underestimated." As humans worked to stabilize the canyon and rescue native creatures, alien observers recorded everything. Ambassadors from neutral systems watched in astonishment as humans turned a deadly planet into a battlefield they controlled completely. One Quarren diplomat whispered to another, "They are impossible. Every move is calculated yet instinctive. How do they survive such worlds?" Meanwhile, the Vrak's empire convened in secret. Reports from Scifi had caused shockwaves through their ranks. They had underestimated humans, and the losses were significant. Their leaders debated strategies, but all agreed on one fact: humans were unlike any other species. They were survivors in the truest sense, born from a planet designed to destroy life, and yet thriving against impossible odds. Back on the human ships, Myra gathered her team for a briefing. "We have made our point," she said. "The Vrak's will think twice before attacking without caution. But this is only the beginning. They will return, stronger, smarter, and more dangerous. We cannot fight them alone forever. We need allies, and we need to prove that humans can lead, not just survive." Lieutenant Jarrah nodded. "Captain, the scouts report that several nearby civilizations are now sending envoys to us. They want to join forces. Our actions here have inspired them." Myra allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Humans do not fight for recognition, but recognition comes when survival is proven. Let the galaxy see that humans are not only survivors, they are a force that shapes outcomes." The human fleet prepared to depart Scifi, leaving behind a battlefield that told a story of human ingenuity. Lava flows had been redirected to form natural barriers. Acid lakes had been harnessed to trap enemy units. Predators native to the planet had returned to their natural roles, while the humans had demonstrated complete control over every element. To any observer, it was not just a victory, it was a revelation. As they left orbit, Myra looked back at the glowing planet. "The galaxy will remember Scifi," she said softly. "It is a warning and a lesson. Humans survive where others fail, we adapt where others falter, and when the next challenge comes, we will be ready." Across the stars, the Vrak's empire began to rethink its strategy. No longer could brute force alone win battles. Humans had shown that intelligence, adaptability, and a willingness to use even deadly environments as allies could defeat forces that seemed invincible. For the first time, the Vrak's were cautious, and for the first time, the galaxy wondered, could humans truly be the key to stopping them? And somewhere deep in space, Captain Myra and her crew prepared for the next encounter. They did not fear the Vrak's. Humans did not fear death. They understood it, respected it, and used it as a tool. Every victory, every survival was proof of their strength. The galaxy had yet to see the full extent of what humans could do, and the stories of Scifi were only the beginning. The galaxy had begun to change. Word of humans from Zoranth 9 had spread faster than any fleet could travel. Across countless systems, alien species whispered about their victories. The canyon ambush on Scifi, the ingenious maneuvers in the Korath Belt, and the relentless spirit of the Deathworlders. Even the Vrak's empire, which had always relied on brute strength, had begun to see humans in a new light, dangerous, unpredictable, and unstoppable. Captain Myra Darnell stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The Vracs had regrouped. Their flagship, the massive Kragnar's Wrath, had repaired its systems and now led a fleet that dwarfed anything the humans had faced so far. This was the test Myra had anticipated. The Vracs were strong, but humans were stronger in ways the enemy could never understand. "Lieutenant Kale," Myra said, her voice steady, "status report on the Vracs fleet." Kale's fingers danced over the console. "Captain, the flagship leads the formation. Its escorts number over 60. They are fast, heavily armed, and highly coordinated. They are expecting us to retreat." "Then they are in for a surprise," Myra replied, a faint smile crossing her face. "Prepare the fleet. I want every ship ready for maximum mobility. We are not here to flee. We are here to fight on our terms." The human fleet moved in formation, a combination of scouts, interceptors, and heavier frigates, each ship equipped with modular weapons designed for adaptability. Humans had learned that no plan survives contact with the enemy unchanged, and they had prepared for every possible scenario. In the Vracs flagship, Vraxen, the towering warlord, bellowed orders. "They are only humans. Crush them. Show them the power of the Vracs Empire." His officers hesitated, recalling reports from Scifi, but Vraxen dismissed their concerns. "Fear is weakness. We are strong. Their tricks cannot stop us." The first engagement began in the void above the planet Orvaxis, a rocky world with high gravity and frequent magnetic storms. The Vracs flagship moved to strike, unleashing a barrage of plasma cannons, but humans had anticipated this. Using magnetic anomalies in Orvaxis's orbit, their ships twisted and turned in patterns the Vracs could not predict. Plasma rounds that should have hit destroyed human ships instead slammed into asteroids, sending fragments ricocheting unpredictably. "Captain, the flagship is advancing too quickly," Kale called out. "Good," Myra replied. "That means it is overconfident. Let's see how it handles Deathworld tactics." Human interceptors darted forward, smaller and faster than anything the Vracs could easily target. They drew the enemy into a narrow asteroid field that humans had identified from prior scans. Within the field, natural hazards and human-engineered devices created confusion. Energy disruptors temporarily disabled the flagship's targeting systems, while drones released from human ships blocked key escape routes. Vraxen roared in fury. "What is this? They use the environment against us. This is impossible." "They have survived a death world," one officer admitted. "They are not like us. They think differently. They fight differently." On the human side, Myra coordinated her ships with calm precision. "All units focus on the flagship's engines. We need it immobilized. Use everything, the asteroid fragments, electromagnetic pulses, and interceptor strikes. Do not allow it to regroup." The human fleet moved like a single organism. Frigates fired torpedoes that adjusted mid-flight to exploit weaknesses in the flagship's shield. Interceptors darted between asteroids, distracting Vracs gunners. Engineers aboard human ships remotely hacked minor systems in the flagship, causing momentary malfunctions that amplified the chaos. Hours passed, and the Kragnar's Wrath struggled to maintain control. Its massive hull was scratched and dented by asteroid impacts and energy blasts. Systems designed to withstand conventional attacks were failing against the humans' unorthodox methods. "Captain, they are attempting to retreat toward Orvaxis's surface," Kale reported. "If they land, we risk losing the advantage of the battlefield." Myra's gaze sharpened. "Then we follow them. Ground teams prepare for deployment. The Vracs will find no safe ground, no place to hide. Every environment is ours to control." Within minutes, human drop teams were deployed onto Orvaxis's surface. The planet's rugged terrain, filled with cliffs, ravines, and volatile energy fields, became an extension of the human strategy. Using knowledge gained from Zoranth 9 and Scifi, human engineers triggered natural hazards to block retreat paths. Interceptor drones guided Vracs units into narrow passes where ambushes awaited. Even the native fauna, harmless to humans, was used strategically to create distractions. The Vracs flagship descended to the surface, its engines stirring dust and debris. Human teams targeted its ground support systems, disabling smaller crafts and cutting off supply lines. From cliffs above, energy disruptors and artillery struck critical points, forcing the massive vessel into further instability. Vraxen's roar echoed across Orvaxis. "How can these humans? This is madness." "They are not reckless," one Vrax officer admitted with fear. "They are using tactics no other species can even imagine." Back on the Resolute, Myra monitored every move. "Jara, coordinate the canyon teams. Kale, continue asteroid support from orbit. Timing is everything. Do not let them regain control." Human units executed the plan flawlessly. The flagship was forced into a natural canyon, where its size became a disadvantage. Interceptors attacked from above, ground teams struck from the sides, and energy disruptors rendered its shields unreliable. For the first time, Vraxen realized that the humans were not just using conventional weapons. They were turning the very planet into a weapon against him. Hours of relentless strategy and precision strikes culminated in the flagship's immobilization. Its engines failed and critical systems shut down one by one. The Vrax fleet, seeing their leader falter, began a disorganized retreat. The humans had not just won, they had rewritten the rules of the battlefield. Captain Myra allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction. "They underestimated us," she said quietly. "They still do, but today they learned that humans are not predictable and we do not fear impossible odds." Across the galaxy, observers recorded the battle. Neutral species watched in awe as humans executed maneuvers that no other species had attempted or survived. Ambassadors whispered among themselves, realizing that humans were not only capable of defending themselves, they could lead entire coalitions and turn any disadvantage into victory. In the Vrax Empire, reports of the flagship's defeat caused panic. Vraxen's humiliation was unprecedented. They had underestimated humans and the cost had been extreme. Across the fleet, fear spread. The Vrax were strong, but humans were something else entirely, a species forged by death itself, fearless, adaptable, and relentless. As night fell on Orvaxis, Captain Myra gathered her officers. "We have proven something important today," she said. "The Vrax will return and they will try to anticipate our moves, but humans do not follow rules, they create them. Our strength lies in our adaptability, our intelligence, and our will to survive. That is how we win." Lieutenant Kale nodded. "Captain, the galaxy will remember this battle. Stories of humans defeating the Vrax flagship will spread faster than fleets can travel." Myra's gaze turned to the stars. "Let them remember. Let every species know that humans are not merely survivors. We are leaders, innovators, and protectors. And when the next challenge comes, we will face it just as we always have, without fear, without hesitation, and with every advantage we can create." The human fleet repaired and resupplied, preparing for the next engagement. They did not celebrate. They did not need to. Humans fought not for glory, but for survival and for the protection of countless civilizations threatened by the Vrax. Every maneuver, every strategy, every risk had been taken to ensure that life across the galaxy had a chance. And somewhere in the distance, as the stars shimmered over Orvaxis, Captain Myra and her crew prepared for the inevitable return of the Vrax. Humans did not fear death. They respected it, understood it, and used it as a tool. That was the difference. That was why the galaxy now whispered, in awe and in fear. The Deathworlders of Zorinth 9 had arrived. No one would ever forget it. The galaxy was no longer the same. Across countless star systems, the whispers of humans from Zorinth 9 had grown into an undeniable truth. These were not ordinary beings. They had survived the deadliest worlds, defeated the Vrax in impossible battles, and turned environments that should have killed them into weapons. They were a force unlike any other. Captain Myra Darnell stood on the bridge of the Resolute, gazing at the galaxy spread before her. Even now, light years away from Orvaxis, her mind ran through strategies, potential threats, and the countless systems still at risk. The Vrax had retreated, but they were not gone. They would strike again if given the chance. Humans could not afford complacency. Lieutenant Kale broke the silence. "Captain, we've received messages from several allied species. They want to coordinate defense fleets. They've seen what we can do, and they want to join forces." Myra's face softened slightly. "Good. Humans do not fight alone when others are willing to protect life. We survive, yes, but we also inspire. Gather the envoys. Let's prepare a plan that will show the galaxy that the Vrax are not unstoppable." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Vrax Empire was in disarray. Their losses had been unprecedented. Entire fleets had been scattered, their flagship disabled, and morale shattered. Vraxen, the warlord who had once laughed at humans, now faced a reality he could not ignore. Humans were not ordinary enemies. They were hunters, survivors, and leaders all in one. They used the environment itself against us, one Vrax officer admitted. No weapon we have can match their tactics. They are unnatural. Unstoppable, another added. We cannot face them alone. Back on the Resolute, Myra and her officers worked tirelessly. Humans were not a species that waited for threats to come to them. They created solutions, shaped the battlefield, and ensured that every action had purpose. Using intelligence gathered from the Vrax's movements, they planned a coordinated strike, combining fleets from multiple allied species with human strategy teams. Lieutenant Jara, standing beside Myra, tapped on the holographic map. The Vrax are concentrating their forces near the Sarin Nebula. If we can lure them into the asteroid fields and magnetic storms we've mapped, we can trap their fleets. It will be risky, but the humans and our allies can handle it. Myra nodded. Prepare the fleet. Every allied captain needs to understand the plan. Timing is everything. Humans have survived worlds where failure is death. Today, we use that experience to save countless others. The allied fleets moved into position, forming a coordinated line of attack. Ships from Quarren, Velcarians, and other species aligned with humans, inspired by the tales of Zorinth 9. Many had never believed humans could accomplish what they had, but after Scifi and Orvaxis, doubt was gone. Humans were the catalyst that united disparate species in the face of a common threat. When the Vrax forces arrived near the Sarin Nebula, they expected a straightforward engagement. They did not anticipate humans leading a coordinated, multi-species strategy designed to exploit every environmental hazard. Asteroid fields, magnetic storms, and nebula gas clouds became weapons in the hands of the humans. Ships maneuvered unpredictably, striking from angles that defied conventional tactics. Captain Myra directed the fleet with calm precision. Kale, guide the interceptors through the nebula. Jara, coordinate planetary support where possible. Every movement counts. Do not allow them to regroup. The Vrax flagship, Kragnar's Wrath, led the assault, but even it could not withstand the combined strategy. Human fighters darted in and out of the nebula, drawing attention, while allied fleets struck from unexpected angles. Mines detonated near enemy formations, magnetic anomalies disrupted navigation systems, and energy pulses disabled shields. The Vrax were shocked. How can a few humans coordinate this? One officer shouted over comms. They are everywhere, controlling everything. They survive what would kill entire fleets, another replied, voice trembling. We cannot understand them. As the battle raged, humans continued to demonstrate ingenuity that the Vrax could not predict. On planets nearby, ground teams created traps, redirected energy flows, and used local fauna to slow Vrax reinforcements. Even in space, humans and their allies worked in perfect harmony, striking with efficiency and adaptability. Hours passed, and the tide of battle turned decisively. Vrax ships were disabled or forced into retreat, their formations broken. The flagship, once a symbol of unstoppable power, was surrounded. Its engines failed under coordinated strikes, and it could no longer maneuver. Vraxen realized, too late, that humans had transformed every disadvantage into an advantage. Captain Myra observed the flagship's final moments from orbit. All units hold fire. Let them surrender if they can. We are here to stop destruction, not create it unnecessarily. The Vrax flagship signaled its surrender. Across the galaxy, systems that had feared invasion now breathed a collective sigh of relief. Humans had not only defended countless civilizations, they had done so with precision, strategy, and moral clarity. In the aftermath, alien ambassadors approached humans with respect and awe. The Velcarians, known for their pride, bowed in deference. Your species is extraordinary, their leader said. We have underestimated you for too long. The galaxy owes you a debt it cannot repay. Myra shook her head. We did what had to be done. Humans survive, yes, but we also protect. That is what makes us strong. Strength is not only in victory, it is in responsibility. The news of the humans' victory spread like wildfire. Across star systems, species marveled at their tactics, courage, and determination. Humans had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, using intelligence, adaptability, and sheer willpower to save countless lives. In private, Myra reflected on their journey. From the harsh death world of Zorinth 9 to the canyon of Scifi to Orvaxis and the Sarin Nebula, humans had proven that survival was not just instinct, it was an art. Every decision, every maneuver, every risk taken had been a lesson in what it meant to be human, resilient, innovative, and unyielding. Back on Zorinth 9, stories of the humans' victories inspired the next generation. Young humans trained harder, knowing they were part of a species that shaped the galaxy. Across allied worlds, humans became symbols of hope. They were the unexpected saviors, the species that could face the deadliest threats and survive where others would fail. Captain Myra gathered her officers for a final briefing. The Vraks are defeated for now. The galaxy is safe, but peace is temporary. We must remain vigilant. Humans survive because we adapt, because we think, and because we refuse to fear death. Let that lesson guide us and others. Today, we are not just survivors. We are protectors, leaders, and a reminder that life itself is worth fighting for. Lieutenant Kale smiled. Captain, the galaxy will remember today. Every system will know the story of the Deathworlders. Myra looked at the stars, calm but determined. Let them remember, but more importantly, let them prepare to survive. Strength is not just power, it is courage, unity, and ingenuity. That is what humans bring to the galaxy. As the human fleet returned to orbit, allies joined them for a ceremonial gathering. Stories of bravery, clever tactics, and survival against impossible odds were shared. Young pilots and soldiers from allied species looked up to the humans with admiration and respect. They had witnessed firsthand that humans could face the deadliest environments and the most powerful enemies and emerge victorious. Even the Vraks, forced to retreat and reconsider their strategies, could not deny the truth. Humans were not ordinary, they were extraordinary. Born from a planet that could kill them in seconds, they had become the galaxy's most unpredictable and formidable force. And as Captain Myra gazed across the assembled fleets, she knew that the story of humans from Zorinth 9 was only beginning. They had saved the galaxy not through raw power alone, but through courage, intelligence, and the ability to survive and adapt in ways no one else could. The galaxy, once dismissive of humans, now stood in awe. The Deathworlders had arrived, and their legacy was clear. Survival was not enough. Humans could fight, inspire, and protect. They could turn impossible odds into victories, and they would do so again whenever the galaxy needed them. And somewhere deep in the stars, humans prepared for the future. The Vraks might return, new threats would arise, but the Deathworlders of Zorinth 9 would be ready. Because humans did not simply survive, they thrived. They adapted. They conquered fear, chaos, and death itself. And the galaxy, at long last, understood that humans were a force unlike any other. The galaxy would never forget it.